or as some of us like to call it, the Res.
No, one of us likes to call it that.
Right.
Well, a lot of people seem to be picking up on it. The Res. That's right.
Been throwing it out there for a couple years now, and it really
Yeah,
hadn't picked up.
it's
The
too
Res.
sticky.
No?
Right.
Yeah.
Billy Ray crushed my whole concept. He wouldn't support me.
What are you
How
talking
do you-
He wouldn't
about?
give any support.
No, Hattie supported you.
Right. Would have been a whole different
Yep.
deal.
You didn't give the
Right.
endorsement.
Right.
Yeah,
Would have given a whole
yeah.
different deal.
You know what?
You got to pay for it.
Right.
Right.
So as the game was being played, there was a moment where there was an announcement. Hey, Aztec fans, and I'm paraphrasing, congratulations to our football team. They have just accepted a bid to play in the Famous Idaho Potato Bowl. And the crowd went, cool, like, kind of thing. Like, what is that? Because it's one of those games that not a lot of people really know about yet. I would say it's a relatively new bowl game.
I think you're right.
But I'm sure that the football program itself is excited. Here to have that discussion is head coach Rocky Long.
The Red Rebel!
Here he is. Rocky Long back on Scott BR on the Mighty 1090. Hi, Coach.
Hi, guys.
How are you?
I'm great. How you doing?
Doing fantastic.
Really good. Congratulations, Coach.
Thank
Another
you. Thank
year,
you.
another bowl. Absolutely.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's always good to be in one.
Well, Coach, what is the benefit of playing in this bowl game when it's so early? I mean, in other words, you know, a lot of people laugh at like the late bowl games, January 6th, you know, or January 5th, the GoDaddy Bowl. You're like, oh my God, really? Are you kidding me? Ball State and Arkansas State, but that's tons of practice time for those teams. What about this one so early?
Well, there's advantages. First of all, you don't get near as many practices as the one you just talked about, but we're going to get probably 4 extra days of practice other than game week preparation, and that gives you a chance to spend half your time practicing for the bowl game and half your time developing younger guys that were mostly scout team players, and some of them will be playing for us next year. You know, the advantages to that are immeasurable, plus the attitude going into the off season because you get to play in a bowl game, and it's fun, and you get gifts and all that kind of stuff, so they come back in a much better frame of mind when they come back for a second semester and you start the off-season program. So there's huge advantages going to a bowl game, no matter where and no matter when. Now, obviously, if you play later, you get more practice time.
Right. And Coach, I would imagine that part of the challenge is, I mean, you guys go through, you know, your entire season, and you don't really think about the University of Buffalo, and now you got to start kind of putting together some kind of game plan and some kind of information packet for your players. How do you guys start to work on the Buffalo Bulls?
Well, first of all, you're right. We don't know much about them out here, and then some people,
And
you know,
vice
use
versa.
that as an excuse or something that say, well, who in the hell are they? But guess what? In New York, they're saying the same thing.
Right.
In New York, they're saying the Buffalo fans are going, who in the hell San Diego State? So what you do is you get the hold of the video guys, and they exchange video, and then you start watching each other, and you start reading about each other on the websites and all that kind of stuff. And Buffalo finished second in their division of the MAC conference, and we're all excited out here in the Poinsettia Bowl that we get Northern Illinois that's going to play in that game against Utah State, and they almost got to a BCS game and all that kind of stuff. Well, guess what? Buffalo's in that same league and finished second. So, you know, it's kind of like us. I mean, back in New York, they're going, who in the heck's Fresno State? And we're going, gee, Fresno State was one game away from going to the BCS. What do you mean, who's Fresno State? So just because you don't know who they are doesn't mean they can't play and that they're not a good program. And these guys got a new coach 4 years ago. He's built up a program, and they're pretty darn good. I know they're huge up front on offense. They're pretty darn good. It's their first bowl game in a long, long time, so they're going to be excited now. Thank goodness they have to travel all the way across the country.
Right.
But guess what? If it's cold like it's going to be, those guys that live in Buffalo, they're going to be out in shorts and T-shirts, and our guys are going to be freezing their butts
You know
off.
that.
No doubt about it.
Coach Rocky Long from San Diego State's football team, they announced on Sunday that they are going to the Famous Idaho Potato Bowl. Coach, by the way, Buffalo, you say this is their first bowl game in a long time. I don't know much about their program other than it's got to be – I mean, I'll be surprised if Buffalo has had football for 10 years. Do you know anything about the history of their program? Because I remember, didn't they have a coach there a couple years ago? Wasn't it like Turner
Gill? Yeah.
Well,
And
it was
he
Turner.
left.
It was Turner Gill. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't even know, how long has Buffalo even been playing Division I college football?
Longer than you think. I don't know exactly. I read all that online today, but about the same time the Mountain West Conference started, Buffalo joined the MAC Conference. So it's 13, 14, 15 years, something like that they've been Division I. It's
Gotcha.
about the same time the Mountain West Conference started.
Got it. Coach, listen, I don't mean to suggest to you that at any point San Diego State was so arrogant as to say, we're not going to go play in that game. I mean, you get invited to a bowl game, you take it. Were you guys sweating the idea that you might be left out?
I don't know if that's the right word, but I think that we were concerned that we were deserving of a bowl bid. I mean, if you look at all the statistics, we finished third in our league. And there were suggestions out there that we weren't going to get to go where the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th place team in our league was going to get to go,
Right.
which made no sense whatsoever and would have been ridiculous if that would have happened. And I'm sure we would have been upset about it now. So I think we deserve to go, and I'm surprised where we ended up because there's actually 4 spots we could have ended up. But all the bowls are about the same. Of the 4 bowls we could have ended up, they're all about the same. And so we got picked, so we're not upset about that. Now, the other side of me says, well, if you don't want stuff like that to happen to you, don't let it happen to you and go out and win the last game. So, I mean, there's both ways to look at it, but it would have been absolutely ridiculous if they would have sent the 7th-place team in our league and not sent the 3rd-place team in our league.
Totally agree, Rock. And by the way, I mean, can you give us an idea what advantage this is for a team to get that to get the bid, and then to have that extra practice time, playing the game, and so on and so forth? How much better does that make your team?
Well, I think we'll scrimmage the next 4 days. We're going to practice, and right before we leave, we're going to practice, and we're going to go for about an hour and 15 minutes with the travel squad, the guys that are going to play in the game. And then we're going to stay out there for another 45 minutes and practice all the guys that don't play much. There might be 1 or 2 on special teams, but don't play very much. And we're going to practice just with them. And then probably the last 10 minutes or so, we're actually going to scrimmage. So what you're developing is younger guys that will be depth next year. Some of them will have to start and play for us. But we're only going to get 5 days of that. So it's about a half of a spring practice. So you're 1/2 or more than 1/2 better than anybody that didn't get to go to a bowl game. Now, if you had a game on the 30th or the 1st, it'd be like a full extra spring practice.
Right.
Coach, can you tell us, and I'm sure I could do some research and look this up, and I'm kind of guessing you probably know, but what is the payout? What is the Famous Idaho Potato Bowl pay San Diego State for coming up there and playing?
Well, I don't know. I'm sorry to disappoint you. I don't know. And a lot of it has to do with how many tickets you sell at your place, so that you're required to sell a certain number of tickets at your place, and if you don't sell them, you eat them. So that's taken out of whatever money they give you. We will make, if we can sell half of our tickets here, we'll make some money on this trip, where when we went to New Orleans, we did not. Because of the cost of flying. I mean, Buffalo's going to have a hard time making any money on this, but they think it's important for their program to go anyway, even though they'll lose money, because later on our goal, everybody's goal, is to go to one of those that pays you millions of dollars, like Fresno almost got to one of those this year. And we were one field goal away from beating them. So, if we get on a roll and don't get the wrong guys hurt, someday we might be the one going to the BCS game.
So just to be clear, though, Coach, I mean, there's nobody in the athletic department, you, Jim Sturck, crew sitting around going, hey, look, we got invited. Let's really talk this out and pencil it out and see if it's worth us going. I mean, am I to understand that as soon as the invitation comes, you guys jump on it and go, thank you, yes, we'll see you in Boise?
That's right. The advantages of going to a bowl game, no matter where, no matter who you play, far outweigh the expense because of what's in the future if you can continue to improve your program. And you're falling behind. I mean, we're going to get those extra practices. Guess what? Everybody in our league that's not getting those extra practices, we're better than they are. I mean, that's just the way it works because you get the practice.
And then when you're playing the game, you're getting the exposure that the kids that are in high school, playing high school football, they're watching you guys, and they'll be aware of you guys.
Yeah, and that's the best part of this. It's on ESPN too, so it's going to get and it's the first day of bowl games. So guess what? Even though maybe the matchup is not marquee, because in New York they don't know who San Diego State is, and in Southern California we don't know who Buffalo is, people are going to be watching because they're always excited about bowl season starting. Now, when they start to wane is the end of the month, and they stop watching them until the big ones come up, the Sugar Bowls and the Rose Bowls and the National Champion. So those in between, they're making a mistake. They should be first or last.
It's really interesting because, I wonder about the high school player. I wonder about the high school recruit that hasn't made up his mind, that's sitting at home and watches San Diego State play against Buffalo in Boise on December 21st. Does that kid go, awesome, I want to join that and be part of that? Mm-hmm. Or does that kid go, ugh, I don't want to play in Boise? I mean, I wonder, Coach, any reaction from potential recruits?
Well, the difference is now if you're recruiting against someone that's in the Rose Bowl, it's going to have probably a negative effect on that recruit. If you're recruiting against New Mexico, or you're recruiting against San Jose, which we do a lot, or the University of Nevada, the kid's sitting at home and going, hey, they're in a bowl game. And I'm going to ask those guys when I go on the trip, I'm going to ask them how much fun they have. And so then your kids brag about how much fun you had and all the bowl gifts you get and how much fun they had around here because we make practices a lot more fun when it's bowl week. And the guy goes, well, shoot, I want to go to a team that competes for the conference championship and go to a bowl game. I don't want to be one of those guys sitting at home and watching. So it really depends on who you're recruiting against.
Yeah, but the other part of it is, you know what? They've been to 4 straight. I'm going to get to go to a bowl game every year. And that's really
right.
The whole thing is interesting because did you know, Coach, that Idaho potatoes were famous?
Well, I did because I grew up in the West. I bet you they don't know that in New York.
No, I mean, I would have had no idea. I grew up back east. I didn't know that potatoes from Idaho were so famous.
How do you like your potato, Coach?
Well, I know that's part of the meals that they give us. I know we'll see if they're better than the ones we buy here.
Yeah, well, don't let them carve you guys up and slow you down.
Right.
They're getting powdered potatoes.
That's it.
I'm going to tell you what,
nonetheless,
if you see the size of that Buffalo offensive line, they're eating a lot of meat and potatoes.
Wow, really? They're that big, these guys?
Oh, they're
wow.
huge. They're huge.
The Buffaloes.
How do you like the fact that they're called the Buffalo Bulls?
That's hilarious.
You know? I mean, just playing on the Buffalo Bills. I think that's pretty funny. Coach, congratulations on the bid. I know a lot of people were nervous, like, oh, man, San Diego State's going to get squeezed somehow. You guys are in. You get all that practice time. You get all that national exposure.
Get all those potatoes.
And you get to reward those seniors that have made it to 4 straight.
That's
Coach,
right.
Congratulations, and thanks for being with us.
All right, guys, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot for having me.
Thanks, Rock.
Coach Rocky Long.